So there was a year there where your father was no longer at home, and everybody had to scramble for finding a way to pay the bills.
Yes.
And you kept going to school, or you stopped going to school?
I stopped for like 2 years, and we tried to help each other in working to have money to buy food.
For 2 years, from 15 to 17, you stopped going to high school.
I stopped going to high school.
For 2 full years?
Not consecutively, but it's just like, you know, like after first year I stopped, and then I continue, and then I stopped, and then I tried to work, and then I decided to go back to school.
What kind of work did you do when you were 15?
My mom is like a housemaid, so Mimi and I tried to help her, and I also worked separately as a nanny in a subdivision in Pagadian City, but did not last long because I just don't want to mention that.
No, go ahead. So there was something you told me that made you uncomfortable, that made you leave that job.
It made me uncomfortable because it's like the father of my employer is like has this bad intention towards me, and I was just so young that time, and I was so scared.
So he asked you when you went to sleep at night to leave your door open.
Yes.
And he had shown too much interest in you. And so you were there for 3 months or something like that?
Yeah, I think for 3 months.
Yeah. Well, Chrissy, are you excited to tell your life story?
Yes, it's my pleasure to share some of my life story with you and the audience.
When I met you, you were 29, but you had a birthday back in April. You're 30 now?
Yes, I'm 30.
Where were you born? Where do you come from?
I was born in the province of Zamboanga del Sur, and I lived in Pagadian City before I met you. But I was living in a municipality called Mahayag for like 8 years since I got to college and when I got my first marriage.
So Mahayag is about an hour drive from Pagadian?
Yes, you will take the bus. It will take you like hour and a half.
You have a big family like most Filipinos?
Yes, I have like 5 siblings, 2 brothers and 3 sisters.
You have a sister 2 years younger, a brother 3 years younger, a sister 8 years younger,
Yes,
and a brother 11 years younger.
11 years younger, and a sister.
Who's 5 years old.
Yes,
So she's a half sister.
half
So
sister.
your parents separated. Your father lives an hour south of Pagadian. Where does he live?
Somewhere in Sultanaga de Mapuro.
And he lives on the shore, on the
Yes.
ocean. He likes to go out at night crabbing, and
Yes.
everyone likes to visit him because he's at the beach.
Yes.
Okay, and then you have a life story that you're going to share with us. So kind of move over, take the center of the couch. I'll ask you some questions, but let's have the people look at you while you share your story. Okay, Chrissy, so you were born in Pagadian City.
Not in Pagadian City, but in Tamboliv, some part of Zamboanga del Sur.
Tell me about your early childhood. How old was your mother when you were born?
Actually, my mother was like 16 years old when she gave birth to me, so people will think I'm her sister and not her child. I actually like remember all the memories that I had together with my mother when she was young, and I can tell that Kendall really looked like her when she was young.
So you're the oldest child. In the Filipino family, what comes with being the oldest?
Well, it's part of the expectation of everyone that if you are the eldest, you should be the breadwinner in the family, which is, there's a lot of Filipino people that are really following that. For me, sometimes like give me that pressure to be the breadwinner of the family, which I don't think I had fulfilled.
So when you were growing up, oldest child, bunch of brothers and sisters coming along after you, and you walked to the local school, your father having a fruit market?
Yes, he was once a fruit vendor in the market of Pagadian City, and that was during when I was like 6 years old until I got to elementary. That was his profession.
Were there any major life events that happened like between the age of 0 to 12?
It has like bad and good things that happened during like in my childhood, but the unforgettable moment that happened in my life during my teenage days is when I was 15 years old. My parents broke up and worked for someone else for me to support my study.
Your father was away for a year or two, but then he contacted the family and he had a new situation in Mahayag.
Yes.
So what was that situation, and who was, tell us about that family that he became part of.
Yeah. My father had this partner, and she was a really nice person, and she also had a grown-up children, which is also nice to us. And so they decided to take me with them and send me to college. And you know, as a new member of the house, you have to work, you have to perform in every household chores, and knowing that they're supporting you, they're giving you allowance and sending you to school.
You told me that you had to get up every morning and scrub the floors.
Yes, I'm a little bit chubbier before. So I was like, I made it as my exercise every morning, and at the same time, my household task.
What was your day like? You're 17, you left your brothers and sisters in Pagadian, you went to live with your father and his new partner. They offered to pay for college. They gave you a place to live. So were you treated like a member of the family, or were you kind of treated like not quite a member of the family?
Well, they actually treated every workers like nice, you know. But it's really different if you are in your own family.
So let's talk about your typical day. You would get up at 5 a.m.?
I would get up like 4 a.m. in the morning and do the tasks.
Scrub the floor. You scrub the whole...
Clean the house.
Clean the house for a couple of hours.
Yes, and they have also these, some of their workers where I can negotiate what to do in the morning. Like we distribute every task, and we will just do the task every morning that is assigned for us.
And then after breakfast, did you go to school or did you go to work?
I went to a night school, so after having breakfast and done every task in the house, sometimes my father will ask me to help him in the store because they own this store. So I am helping my father in the store, and some days also my father will let me take over the store because they will go somewhere.
You woke at 4, you did 2 or 3 hours of household chores, scrubbed the floor for sure every day.
Yes.
Was your job. Help make breakfast, help with the dishes. Did you eat with the family or you ate by yourself?
We ate together.
8, 9 o'clock in the morning, you went to the store to work. And it was a store that sold vegetables and rice.
No, just rice and some groceries.
Rice and some groceries. When you went to the store, would your father stay at the store, or would you take over the store by yourself?
Sometimes we do it, like we were in the store together, but most of the time he will call me to take over the store.
Okay. And then when would school start?
4 p.m., like 4:30 p.m.
And so you would go to school from 4:30 until
9 p.m.
And then you come home by motorcycle?
I will just walk because it is like 15 to 20 minutes walking distance.
But then you have homework when you get home?
Oh yes, like there's a lot, like you know, having this teaching course. You
were in college, so you made up the lost years in high school, or how did you make up for these 2 years of lost high school? Or you just test right into college?
Oh, after I stopped, I went back to high school and then finished high school, graduated, and then went to college.
So how old were you when you started college?
19 years old.
19 years old, so you're a year behind.
2 years.
2 years behind, actually. Okay. And what about your experience in college? Were you like in any clubs? Did you enter any beauty contests? Did you perform in the band?
Joining a pageant, I tried like twice in my life. Like once in our barangay in some Bongga Sur, and once in school. And yeah, I won a runners-up, but never been a queen.
You had only one boyfriend before you met me.
Yeah.
He ended up being your husband. He was 3 years younger than you. Just explain, that relationship and how it led to your marriage. I guess you dated in college, and then you both wanted to be teachers, but
Yes.
you passed the certification. And your
Yes.
husband ended up taking the test 2 or 3 times, but he ended up going in the Army.
Yes.
Okay.
So I met my husband when I was like 19. We made it through the college. We graduated. I passed the licensure examination and he did not. So he decided to be in the Armed Forces of the Philippines. And he graduated. He went to Marawi during the Marawi siege.
Your husband was sent to Marawi. And how long did the conflict last, and what was the environment around Mindanao like during the conflict?
I think it really lasted for like 3 months, but my ex-husband was deployed in Marawi like maybe at the 3rd week of the last month of the Marawi siege. It's not really that bad when he went there. We got married last 2018. I had CJ I year 2019, and then 2020, month of August, he decided to break up with me. And at first month, it went so crazy. Like, I wanna win my family back. I want my family to be whole. I don't want my child to experience what I have experienced when I was a child when my parents broke up. So I tried to fight for my family, but it didn't work. And I know there's a purpose why it didn't work.
Your husband was initially deployed to Marawi during the conflict, and then later he was deployed in southern Mindanao. And so married life for you involved having a husband away in the Army.
Yes.
How far away, how often would you see him?
Every 3 months for 10 days.
So your first year of marriage, you were only married a year before the annulment was initiated.
Yes.
So you saw him 10 days every 3 months. So maybe you saw him for 40 days over the year. But you'd been together for 6 years before you were married, is that right?
Yes.
You know, in the old days, there used to be only men in the military, but nowadays the Philippine military has, 10, 15, 20% women.
Yeah.
You were living at your mother-in-law's when your husband asked for an annulment. Did you continue to live there?
I stayed there for 15 days.
So, tell me about the next part of your life. You move out of your mother-in-law's house and you go back to your mother's home in Pagadena. And your mother's home has brothers, sisters, a lot of people there. You have a stepfather. Not really a stepfather, but he's your mother's significant other, because there's no divorce in the Philippines.
Yes.
And you built immediately. Did you build you have like a small casita or a small home just outside your mother's house?
Yes.
And there's one. So already there was one for your brother, Junji, and there was one for Denden.
Yeah.
And you don't have drywall. It's just boards, but there's going to be gaps and things like that. It's kind of a traditional province house,
Yes.
even though you're in a smaller city. When you left your mother-in-law's, you had saved up some money teaching.
I saved, yes, I made this savings from my previous job, and it's what I used to build that little room
It's
for
like,
me and
in the
my
West,
son.
we call it casita.
Casita.
It's small, it's like a little room, like it's like
For us,
12
we call
by 12 maybe?
Yeah, you call it like a bunkhouse.
Bunkhouse, you call it.
Bunkhouse.
Okay, so when you go visit your mother now, you've got a bunkhouse. If you were when I met you, you were living in the bunkhouse, or you were living with your father? I don't remember.
I was living with my
Your father at the beach.
Yes.
But you used for several years. You lived in the bunkhouse,
Yes.
and with CJ,
With CJ.
and then your sister lived in one of the bunkhouses with her husband and a child. And your brother lives in another bunkhouse, and then everybody uses the same bathroom. There's one bathroom to be shared,
Yes, we have this one common bathroom.
and then most of the cooking's done in the dirty
One
kitchen
common
outside.
kitchen.
Like, it's really
one common bathroom, one common kitchen. It is like a Filipino extended
so.
family
When you were
style.
growing up, you had no running water,
Yes.
never any hot water. Sometimes you could cook up the water and use it, get some
Yes,
hot water.
boiled water.
So you had no running water, no refrigerator,
No.
and there's one at your father's, but it's not working, and nobody wants to get it fixed, right?
Yes.
Because it uses electricity. So when you prepare meals, you never prepare really more for one day.
It can be consumed in a day.
So
Not much.
So somebody has to burn firewood
Yeah.
and cook the meal.
Yes. Yes.
But when you make rice, you have a rice cooker, you plug it in. So you have electricity, the only electrical appliances you really rely on are fans. And a rice cooker. What else gets plugged in? Anything?
Heater,
TV?
charger, TV,
computer.
radio.
Yeah, recharge your cell phones. So you moved back to the bunkhouse.
So I lived together with CJ alone for like 2 years. After that, there's like a work call that offers me 3 months teaching contract in one of the public schools in the town of Mahaya where I lived before.
So, Chrissy, after you had this long-term teaching assignment, now you're like already 29 years old. It's only like a year ago,
yes.
right? And it ended like in February of this year?
January this year.
January this year.
So, since there are a lot of changes of the teaching application here in the Philippines this year, I decided not to pursue my application here. And I have a friend in Vietnam that is inviting me to start processing for my application in teaching English in Vietnam. So I tried to pursue it. But then I decided to like open an online dating app.
Before you met me, and before you were at that point where you were deciding to go to Vietnam or deciding not to leave your child, and you had kind of noodled around with the idea of meeting a Westerner. You had done some online selling too, some internet selling to sustain yourself. And the father sends support for the child, for CJ, the son, who's now 4. So he sends support and helps, it's not much because the salaries are small in the Philippines, but he does do his part. So there you are, you go on Filipina Cupid. In another video you said you only get like 3 or 4 emails a day, which is crazy because she's so gorgeous. I'm in South America. I know it's your life story. I'm in South America. For some reason, not to be told here, I left for a 70-day vacation to South America, and I was planning to come to the Philippines the last 30 days. So I'm in Peru, about to go. I'd just been to Machu Picchu, and I was in northern Patagonia in a small town of Puerto Montt, and the weather caused me to cancel my rental car, and I was spending all day on Filipina Cupid, and there you were, I met you. The next morning I almost got carjacked. That's the story I tell in an earlier video. But there you are. Tell me and tell everybody, what motivated you to look for a Westerner? What is the age gap relationship? I mean, we have like 30 plus years age gap relationship, and people in the West just don't get that. When I tell my family members, I tell my sisters, they're like, their head blows up. So share with us where you were at in your life story and how you saw things proceed.
Okay, so I had just started my application in Vietnam. Actually, I was thinking, I thought that could be like maybe my destiny to teach abroad. But then I met Rob in Cupid, and he was a very interesting man and attractive, as you can see. And I was like, after my first serious relationship had, unsuccessful, I told myself that I want to meet a guy in the future that is like older than me. There is something that is telling me take a little pause of this application and make a little reroute of my plan.
So Chrissy, we met when I was in Chile, and then I went to Buenos Aires. I went to southern Patagonia, then I went to Argentina, then I went to Iguazu Falls and Sao Paulo, and I got on a cruise ship and I paid for this internet that wasn't the best. We spent a lot of time with trying to get the connection to go through as I was on this 21-day cruise to Belgium. So when I got to Europe, I immediately flew to meet Chrissy at the Philippines, and we had talked about next steps. We had when I say gates we were going to go through. And what was the first gate? We were going to meet.
We're going to meet.
And we met in Makati.
Yes.
After Makati, you flew back home for your son's birthday in Pagadian.
So after we celebrated my son's birthday, Rob made an arrangement in Cagayan de Oro City. He rented an Airbnb for my family, and he rented a van to carry us from Pagadian City to Cagayan de Oro. Rob and my family met, and we had this dinner night, which is like an extended birthday celebration of my son, and meet and greet of him and my family.
The next day, we made plans to go to Sinolem Falls, which is about an hour north of Cagayan de Oro. It's one of the spectacular waterfalls. And by the time the van took off for the falls, maybe there were 20 of your relatives in the van.
Yeah.
So then your family went back to Pagadian, and you had your family's blessing to be with me. And then we went on like a honeymoon before the marriage. And we became engaged very quickly. And so tell everybody about your adventures after your parents went back to Pagadian for the next 30 days.
So after I got my permission from my parents to be with Rob, Rob and I went to so many places in the Philippines. One of the unforgettable moments that I ever had in my life. So we went to Davao, we went to Cebu City, Puerto Princesa, we went to El Nido, Boracay, Dumaguete, Bohol, and then we were back here in Cagayan de Oro City. So all of those travels that we had, we also able to know each other. I got to know about him a lot better than we had online. You know, the video calls, it's really different in person. And we played like, you know, like a newlywed couple having their honeymoon in different places. Like not just places, but you know, like top visited places in the Philippines, and I'm so happy.
Chrissy, it's your life story. How do you want to wrap it up?
So, thank you for those who are watching this video and spending some of your time to watch. And don't forget to subscribe in our channel, comment, like, and share. And it's Chrissy and Rob, and fly me to the Philippines. Thank you very much.